Live. So, welcome back to the Passionate Pioneer podcast. This is series 2, episode 28 already. And my guest today is Bonnie Brindle, the Anxiety Avenger. Hi, Bonnie.
Hello, Beth Taylor.
Oh, someone said my full name. How lovely. I'm honored. That's lovely. And I'm also known, obviously, as the Passionate Pioneer. My motto is empowered women, empowered lives. And this podcast is your doorway to passion, spirituality, and joyful living, which we all would like to get to. So let's get started and let me introduce my guest. So, ever feel like anxiety is holding you back? Bonnie Brindle, the Anxiety Avenger, knows exactly what that's like, and she's here to help. Bonnie is a psychotherapist, author, international speaker, and transformational coach who has developed a powerful approach to overcoming anxiety. She combines traditional talk therapy with evidence-based energy practices and her innovative wildlife imagery technique to guide individuals on a journey from chaos to calm.
Mm.
So let's tune in now to hear Bonnie's inspiring story and learn how to crack the crazy maker's code, which is the key to unlocking your most fulfilling life. It's all very interesting. I love that combination, Bonnie. I can't wait to hear your story. So let's get started with question one, which is always a tongue in cheek for me because the question is, what ignited your passion for this industry? Was it a lifelong dream, or did it emerge through a journey of discovery?
I thought about this question a lot, and thank you for that fabulous introduction, by the way. Thank you
Oh,
so
you're
much.
welcome.
I'm thrilled to be here with you. I thought about this question a lot because I don't imagine too many of us had a moment where, oh, that's it. We kind of evolve through all of our experiences, right, into something else. And so I kind of looked back on my past and thought, okay, well, here I am helping people reduce anxiety, helping people manage stress and in different ways and different times of their lives. And it wasn't just a moment of, oh, I'm going to work on that. When I was in my teens and young adult life, my anxiety disorder was so debilitating that I was actually stuck at home at one point when home was not a safe place to be. I actually dropped out of college in my first semester because I couldn't get to and stay in my classes, which was a devastating moment for me. Um, but years later, years on, I was an entrepreneur with a retail business and a contract business of uniforms for a while in my 20s and early 30s. And then I moved from Massachusetts to Colorado. And like, well, what am I going to do next? And I became an educator. And for 25 years, I was an educator of elementary and middle school and an instructional coach for a school district. And yes, that's a helping profession. Yes, that is where a lot of anxiety and angst and development things are happening. So I was very much it mixed with all of the things that I did as an educator, certainly with working in the sort of therapeutic and coaching space at the same time. And I took the leap this past year in May 2024 to retire from public education, which I can't say anyone gets wealthy on, but there's
Right.
always there's always customers, and there's the health insurance, the way the thing that works in the US and in some of our school districts, it's a safe golden handcuffs kind of place to be working. And I said, I'm done. I'm out. I let go of all of that. And it was very scary to do that. That was a huge leap to take. And at the end of my career, I wrote my book, Cracking the Crazy Maker's Code, to help other people start a path out of their own anxiety. And now here I am back to the entrepreneurial world, as you said, as a therapist, transformational coach, author, and speaker on this subject of anxiety management and helping people get back to the best life that they can create for themselves and clear some of this crazy making clutter out of the way that a lot of us don't even really know is in our way or can define or identify.
Well, we all have those anxiety crippling moments, don't we, on our journey? And in fact, as an entrepreneur, probably more so because it's, when you suddenly you've got to do everything yourself, you can have, well, absolutely, you can have crippling anxiety, but you've got to find tools and techniques, and this is where someone like you would help with the tools and techniques to help us with that, with those anxiety moments. Um, and it's interesting how you do blend your as a therapist and a coach. And talk about this before I go into the questions, because I've got some questions for you. Talk about this introduction. When I introduced you, we talked about the innovative wildlife imagery technique, and I'm all about wildlife, and I live in the middle of nature. I see your background now is nature behind you. So talk about this. How important is this nature in our for our nervous system?
It's absolutely critical. It is our source. And so many of us, Beth, have gotten away from being connected to nature with all of our trappings and our homes and our computers and our cars and our phones and all the things, right? Are really away from that. And if you take a moment and just think back, what were human beings doing before all of this stuff that we created to make life easier and
Yeah.
make information quicker to transfer, which is clearly not easier for any of us, is it? Well, what were human beings doing then? What were we designed to do? We lived outside. We lived among the trees and the rocks and the animals and the ocean and the lakes in a natural state. And that is where we are connected to our inner selves and to our environment. None of us are connected to this environment we've created for ourselves. We work in it, we function in it, we use it, but there's not a connection to the beings that we are in these trappings that we're in every day.
Yeah.
So nature is absolutely essential. And this is just jazzing me. I have been, I work with kids, adults, any kind of anxiety, stress issues. But I'm focusing recently on neurodiversity, on people who may be on the autism spectrum or ADHD or dyslexia, dysgraphia, is OCD. These are all identified as neurodiversities. And talking with some teenagers who are on the autism spectrum to a person, they are nature connected kids. They think about it, they see life through the lens of nature. And I think, what could that be one of the gifts of neurodiversity that folks are still connected with that source better than us neurotypicals are now? I'm questioning and digging around in that at the moment, but that's kind of off in a tangent. But
I
so
love that. Now go down that tangent. I love that you've connected some dots there, haven't you, with the neurodiverse kids
yeah, I
and the
know
ADHD kids. Is that
yes,
they connect more with nature.
they do. It's almost like because I know I'll say this for me because I don't want anyone to take this in a way saying that they're not able to connect. But for me, I dealt with OCD. I dealt with debilitating panic disorder. I dealt with agoraphobia, being stuck and not being able to go out in the world and do things like regular folks do, fly around in a plane or you take a train or an elevator or be in a closed room, go to a movie. All of those things were off limits for me at one time in my life. And nature was always the thing that I get back to. And horses, which were introduced, I came to this planet obsessed with them, but physically introduced in my life to me as a 10-year-old and completely changed my life. And still, to every single day, when I get off this call with you, I have horses to take care of. So every single day that I'm out in nature around the horses and the barn cats and the trees and the hawks, and so that helps me function in the human world, which sometimes for me has been hard to understand. I don't get a lot of things that people do. And I know that neurodiverse folks have the same neurodiverse folks in other ways, because I am, since I have dealt with OCD, have some of the same issues, like not getting how do you connect with this person? When do I know when to stop talking? How do I listen better? Why do people find violence as entertainment? Like when we watch movies and television. And it's just fascinating to me to recognize that that connection to nature is so critical.
Mhm.
And for people who seem to have a harder time living in the human space, that's where they find their solace. It's definitely true for me. And so back in 2005, I was in the middle of my education career, knowing that one day I would retire. What am I going to do after that? Because I'm not a couch sitter, let's just say. That's not what I'm doing. So I developed a therapy practice in 2005, and I thought, well, I use wildlife imagery for myself to ground myself all the time when I'm not in nature. Um, and I literally developed it as a therapeutic modality for people to connect to whatever energy they need without having to access help from other humans. That's a huge issue for neurodiverse people. Like they don't always seek help and support from other people because it's harder to reach them sometimes. Um, and I have found that the work that I do with people to help them discover their own natural areas that they're attracted to, the powers of the animals that they can call to themselves in those places, and the way they can connect with the energy of those wild animals in there, inside themselves, while they're at work, or they're driving the car, or they're in the grocery store. They're not having to call in another human to calm them or to bring them the power that they need. They can go into imagery. And throw an example, maybe someone in your audience is struggling with developing family relationships. Elephant might come up. Elephants are very socially connected, very family oriented, very protective of children, their children, and each other. Um, Maybe someone in your audience is feeling they need protection. Wolf is one of the most protective wildlife energies that you could bring into yourself and ask for help from. One of mine is hawk, because the hawk helps me see the greater picture when I get lost in the details sometimes of things. And horse, of course, for me, helps me to keep a graceful power, gives me power, not the kind that takes over other people or that is hard for others to be around. But a horse is extremely powerful, but also very graceful.
Yeah.
And, if they're treated right, they're very easy to get along with.
Yeah.
But at 1,000 pounds or more, they could crush you in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And be gone. So yeah, the wildlife imagery thing is really big for me. I wrote about that in my easy to access book, and I'm currently writing a course to help people activate that for themselves.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack there.
It is.
There's a lot to unpack there. I have so many new questions to ask you. Okay. So first of all, let's go back to the start with the imagery, which you started with, which is the
Mhm.
images of nature on the wall. Now, we are disconnected to nature for one reason or another. And I understand that, you know, nobody wants to be, you know, I am an individual. I am that crazy woman, that crazy lady that lives on the top of a mountain in Italy, in the middle of nature, in the middle of nowhere, right? My
Unfortunately.
neighbors are a 5 minute walk away, literally. Maybe a little bit more than that. But anyway, everybody knows me. Oh, you're that crazy lady that's got the house at the top of the mountain. Right?
I love it.
So that's me, and I've never been very comfortable in large spaces, like very crowded places. I get, overwhelmed. It's too much energy for me. A bit of an empath. I take on energy, and it's always been overwhelming. I never really understood it until the last sort of 5, 10 years, maybe. Um, but I love that because people have to work in the cities. That's where the work is, so they go where the work is. So they work in the city, and it's a concrete jungle. that is another type of jungle is concrete. And so there
Right.
really isn't in some places not much nature. There's not many gardens, there's not many parks. Depending on where you live, if you're lucky and you've got parks, great. Lots of people don't. And so that's a fantastic way, I think, that you found of connecting with nature, and that's to have the images of nature where you can sit and you can see something, you can feel that you are connected in some way. Because I think we've totally lost that connection that you were talking about, Bonnie, which is the connection to nature. Nature gives back so much. I mean, if you ask anybody, even people that live in the concrete jungle, how do you feel when you've been to the park?
Mhm.
Energized, fresh,
Energized.
like, renewed ideas, calmer, more relaxed. I don't feel anxious anymore. My nervous system has calmed down. I
Mhm.
feel so, and that's the beauty of nature, and it's what we've lost, you
Yes,
know.
because it's our natural connection to our
Yeah,
source.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that's amazing. And not everybody wants to be that crazy lady on the top of the mountain. But we can find ways. And I think that, what you're doing, you've actually found that way initially to help yourself.
Hmm.
And now you're the guiding light for others, which is amazing. So let's talk more about those guiding lights. So that were there any mentors or role models or anybody that played a crucial role in this journey?
Oh my, yes. Um, let's see. When I was 10, my sister's friend, somewhat would be 10 years older than I, so she was 20, um, was the first person to really recognize my obsession with horses. And she happened to work for the local stable after school when she was in high school. She invited me to go on a trail ride with her. And I had been, I mean, room plastered with posters, horse models, the whole thing. That's all I cared. I drew them, I doodled them in school. That's all I cared about. And I'd never actually touched, except, like a pony ride when I was a kid, maybe. I never touched a horse. And she took me for a trail ride. And my entire world, I can't, it's so hard to even describe the energetic shift that my life took at that moment. Like everything changed. And I thought, oh gosh, this is where I belong. How do I get here? How do I stay here? So that friend, having no idea what she was doing, other than taking me for a trail ride because I loved horses, was a life changer for me. And then the horses themselves became my mentors and still are. They're still my greatest teachers. When I watched them, because like you said, as an empath, that's me. Sounds like that's you. Everything we read in the world is energetic. Somebody can tell me all day who they are, but I'm feeling you, right?
Energy.
And
Energy doesn't lie.
energy doesn't lie. And everything we bump up against, every living thing in the world has its own energy, and we're all vibrating together.
Yeah.
Lower some, higher some, right? But and the horses, they communicate with energy, their ears, with their eyes, with how they shift their body, with how they use their breath. And I became a student of the horse. Like, how do they let each other know you're safe, you're with me? You need to back off right now. I can't wait for this. I'm going to just be standing back. All these messages they send to each other, I really learned their language. And in the meantime, had a great time riding horses, being out, in a place where my family, A, had no interest nor could afford to support. I immediately went to work after school, summers, vacations, shoveling poop, helping instructors get their lessons ready, taking care of the horses. And then pretty soon I became for a while, I was a therapeutic riding instructor and had my own in the local part of my practice. I do equine therapy.
Well, I was just
So,
going to say that about equine therapy because I watched I was reading an article, watching a video the other day about equine therapy and how it helps with PTSD. It's helping. There's programs for ex-soldiers. etc. And it's quite incredible, really, how these horses are able to help us without words, just through the energy. And that's just blows my mind, right?
Yes. And it's so much more powerful than words. And horses mirror our emotions. So if I go out to the barn and I'm twisted up about something that happened and I'm at, this energy, I will stop at the gate and tell them, guys, this is just kind of where I am right now. So I'm trying to bring it down, and I just want you to know my energy isn't normal, isn't relaxed at the moment. And then I'll proceed. But I never put my hand on a horse when I feel dysregulated.
Right.
I wait until I've gotten myself. So um, yeah, that the therapy for there's a lot of talk now, and I'm so happy about it, about how equine therapy helps people with PTSD. Certainly military people,
Yeah.
people of any kind of PTS issues. Myself, I had no idea that as a 10-year-old, I was handed my PTS therapy by my sister's friend.
Right.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you talk about mentors, the horses have taught me so much and have helped me as a teacher of teenagers when I was doing that because they're so darn similar. They just want to be safe, they
Yeah.
want to be noticed, and they want to be treated with respect.
Yeah.
And when anything else happens to a teenager or a horse, they become dysregulated and they'll show you right back. This is how you're vibrating for me, and I don't like it.
There's
Right?
also, isn't there also another interesting fact about withering and dying when you separate a horse from other horses? And it's the same for humans. If you separate a horse and you put it on its own
Mhm.
instead of with other horses,
Mhm.
its mental and physical health deteriorates rapidly.
Rapidly.
And isn't that the same with humans?
It is. And because we have ego, sometimes we think it's not, right? So horses are prey animals. As enormous as they are prey animals. And they live in herds. And the highly sensitives, they're usually on the outside, they're kind of lower status. This is what I love about being a sensitive person. And when people think, oh, she's just, again, oh, the anxiety. That sensitivity and anxiety has saved people's butts for for centuries, and
Yeah.
it saves horses. So the lower status horses that are kind of on the outside and tend to eat last if there's a especially in the domestic world if they're eating like hay out of bales and nets, they are the ones who keep everyone else safe because if something's going to go down, they notice it first.
Right.
Right? The empath, the detailed one,
Yeah.
notices it first, shifts an ear, it ripples all the way through the herd, and they're all ready to go.
Yeah.
And they're gone,
Yeah.
right? So human ego gets in the way when we think we need to be rugged individuals, the
Yeah.
American
Don't
way.
ask for help. You can do it on your own. You don't need to be, yeah.
Exactly.
And it's so
And
not true, is it? It's so not true. It's the opposite.
gosh, and when we support each other, I mean, the old, it takes a village to raise a kid.
Right.
It's the truth. When I look at my own youth, in those days here in the US, it was get out of the house and be back here when the streetlights are on, right? Go be with your friends, learn things, figure stuff out. And that helped me to sort of develop the idea of how to survive in the world because it getting out with friends, like getting out and being out in that group. And we would talk about things and we would work things out and we would fight and we would have fun. But there was all that connection. And if I'd been going out the door as a 10-year-old kid, going down the street to the beach by myself, what am I going to learn? How am I going to understand how to function? So,
Yeah.
yeah, the rugged individuals that don't ask for help, that suck it up and go forward is making us sick,
Yeah, it is.
making people sick.
It's making people sick, yeah. And I think that, this individual, social media,
Oh,
it has its good points, but it has
Yes.
so many bad points. And I mean, literally, I would call it anti-social media because people sit on their phones and communicate across a room to each other on social media. They don't even have a conversation. They're like, oh, did you see this? And they'll
Mhm.
send the message. Nobody else knows what they're talking about. It's not a group effort. It's just an individual. And it's, I think when we are starting to move away from that now, Bonnie. I can feel it. I can feel the shift in social media. It's not the same. We're moving away. We're moving into creating communities. We're moving
Yes.
to, let's support one another. Let's help
Yes.
one another. Do you need help? Okay, if I can't help you, I can. I know somebody who does, right? And that community vibe of don't go it alone. Ask for help is not a weakness, it's a strength to ask for help,
Strength. Mhm. It is a strength. Being
right?
able to put yourself forward and say, I need help with this is a strength, not a
Right.
weakness.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely true. And just last night, I hosted an event for parents here in my local library. The kids are not all right, let's just say. The
Right.
kids are struggling, and and the parents are struggling, and then it becomes a yo-yo effect, and on we go.
Yeah.
I hosted an event to ask parents to come and just tell me, instead of me developing this thing and this program in this area, um, tell me what you need. Just show up and tell me what you need.
Yeah.
What's going on with your kids? What's keeping you up at night, right? And I'm working to develop not only the communities that I may interact with, but then they go off on their own and they've created something where they're communicating with each other. Like a parent said to me, "Oh my gosh, if I had other parents really connected with me and we together dealt with how do we help our kids handle um, being in the internet generation, being, keeping our kids from becoming addicted to phones and computers but I feel like I'm fighting that battle alone, trying to figure that out, like what to do for my kids alone. If we were in a group together and we sort of came up with norms about how and when and why we allow our kids to engage, then not only is that going to help the kids, but to keep them safer, but help the adults to feel like they're connected, like there's somebody who's got their back. There's someone who'll back them up when, you know, somebody's parent wants to give them whatever. Oh, this is the group we came up with, and these are the ideas that we have, and how we're protecting our kids together. Let's stick to our norms.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's something I really want to develop. I'm like, well, there you go. There's the individual wanting to come back, like you said, to real connection
Yeah.
with other people.
Yeah.
And
And
right.
and
And
I
when you
do
think,
I do feel that more and more, Bonnie. Do you feel that more and more
yeah,
that's the way that, society wants to move? Or I can't say everybody, but the women that I speak to, the people that I speak to, this is
yeah,
what they are more focused on, is more heart-centered communication. I think I saw a quote the other day from Mel Robbins, when your kids, teenagers, instead of shouting at them, just ask them two questions. What do you want from me? Would you like me to listen to you, or would you like my advice?
hmm, good questions to ask a teenager.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you don't know. Sometimes they just want to shout and vent and
Yep.
just listen. And other times they do want some advice, then they want some advice, or they just want some advice. But it's a confusing time. I would never, if ever I had to go back to a time in my life, I would never choose to be a teenager again. It was the worst time ever.
Oh, so hard.
It's so difficult, right? I mean, there's so much going on. I mean, they've got hormones changing. They're sitting down. They're learning academic stuff. Sometimes not even creative things. We're just sticking them in schools where they're, just learning things parrot fashion, and it's just
Yes.
so
It's a lot.
so
It's
demotivating as well, right? They can't wait to get out of school and just go and do
right.
something creative.
Exactly. No, that's sometimes true. And that's I really miss being in the classroom. I know that I've done the right thing and I'm and where I
Yeah.
am now, but I
Yeah.
loved it so much. And people would say, what grade level do you teach? I said, oh, I spent most of my time in seventh grade. And they just look at me like, are you nuts? And I said, yeah, it is the hormone highway. You don't know who's coming in that door. I know they were there yesterday, but they may be a completely different person today. Oh, and funny, oh my gosh, their senses of humor and their sense of awakening of the world and their curiosities and just I love that age. It's so great. But yeah, it's total nuts every day.
I totally understand. I worked
Oh,
in
it is.
classrooms. I went from corporate to a sidestep to teaching, which was great. I mean, it gave me everything I needed for the coaching, basically, because I used to teach children and teenagers and adults. Um, and yes, that would teach you everything you need to know about coaching.
Right, right, right.
So,
Yes.
so go on, tell me. So, how did you muster the courage then to leave your industry, to leave that industry?
Oh, that was a hard one. I won't tell anybody that it was an easy decision. Because it was last year, so I was 62 years old. So in the US, one gets Medicare health benefits when you're 65. And
Correct.
I could coast. I could work half time as a coach for the school district, stick with it until I'm 65, coast out through the health insurance thing, and then go on my way. And I thought about it. Like I said, the golden handcuffs, that would have been easy. And I would have made more of a pension the longer I stayed. And it just kept knocking on me. Finish the book, launch the book, get out there because people are waiting for this kind of help. Every year, the levels of anxiety increase, increase, increase. There's no let up for, kids and adults. And right now, I'm sure you're paying some attention to what's going on in the US.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can open my window and hear the vibrations humming in the streets,
Yeah. Well, it's a big
witnessing.
diverse across the world right now. The opinions are getting stronger either side.
Yes. Oh, it's just so intense, and people are getting so entrenched and trying to
Yeah.
hold on to their beliefs. And
Yeah.
because, if the more things get rocky, the more people dig in,
Yeah.
right? That they feel safer. And that's becoming such a huge issue. And when the parents that I spoke with last night,
Mhm.
my kids are anxious, but I
Yeah.
am too. And then it becomes a cycle, like the parents trying to protect the kid from their anxiety, but they don't really understand where it's coming from or why it's growing. Um, and
Well, it's in
then
the collective, isn't it? It's in the vibration. Like you said, you can open the window and hear the vibration. You can hear it humming in the street, literally. It's
yes,
like, you know,
yes, you
and
really,
I mean, I always tell people just stay in your lane. I mean, I've got clients that ask me, what do I do, Beth? The world's just gone, there's so much chaos out there. What do I do? And I just say, okay, here's some simple techniques. And one of them is just to focus on you, stay in your lane, try and get back into nature, try and go for a
yes.
walk in the park, do some things that bring you joy, find your joy moments,
Mhm.
right?
Yes. And when people, here's a really important piece that I share with people all the time. Anxiety, stress, it's just trapped energy.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
If someone had said to me when I was 18 years old and could not wait to get out of my family home, crazy town, got myself into college, thought that my life was finally going forward, and then had to drop out because I was so anxious I couldn't sit in the classroom and go back to where I was. Someone had said to me, "Ah, it's anxiety. It's just trapped energy." I would have been like, well, I would have said something I can't say here. After what I had dealt with since I was awakened to my anxiety at about 11 years old, um, and the daily mental torture of it, but it is that simple. Anxiety is just trapped energy. And so when people can learn, like as a therapist, right, and as a client years ago and back and forth for many years, I've experienced talk therapy, right? CBT, cognitive behavioral therapies.
Yeah.
Those things are helpful, but they're not nearly enough. You can go to a therapist, and when you talk about what my mentors are, one of them was at that moment, a little after that moment when I dropped out of college, and went back and was living in my crazy family home, and was like, oh, I can't stay at school, can't stay here. I might not want to stay here at all.
Right.
Is where I went to,
Right.
and I had to think about that. And again, the horses. I'm like, if I check out, I don't know where I'll be going next. And if there aren't horses, nope, I'm not taking the chance. So I picked up the phone and actually called my health plan at the time and got connected with a therapist. And thank goodness it was a match, because that's a thing people need to shop for when they're
Yeah.
in their deepest despair. They still have to shop for the right fit. I was incredibly fortunate and actually still connected on a friendship level with this therapist I met 40 years ago who helped me for a couple of years. Um, and at that point, I couldn't have told you what my emotions were. What are you feeling? I would have been like, I don't know, just nuts. I just feel nuts. And I'm not going to tell anyone. I didn't really tell anyone. Even my closest friends didn't know the level that I was dealing with every day. They knew. I mean, when my best friend lived in New York for 5 years and I couldn't visit her because I couldn't transport myself there. When my other best friend asked me to be in her wedding and I said no. I mean, they knew that I wouldn't do that for just no reason, but they didn't really understand the depth of my anxiety. But that mentor, that first therapist, that person who helped me identify what my feelings and emotions were, and then helped me figure out the roots of that, that's where this came from. This little easy access book with a path for readers to start to take through a printable journal with the guided journal that's
Oh,
really
that's
easy to read.
great.
Um, that's where it started. So how my story and how I got myself forward is written in this short book. And at the end of each chapter are reflections and action steps that I started to take to move forward. So I put that out there for people to consider if they don't know where to start, because I sure didn't,
Right.
right? I was just, I don't know what's wrong with me. I have bats in my head. I don't know. And finding out that, oh, there's a really good reason that I have all this anxiety and this, that I feel this crazy and that I've gotten to the point where I can't function in the world. There's really good reasons behind this.
Yeah.
In addition to just my highly sensitive personage that arrived on this planet when it did, um, then everything started to get clearer
Right.
and started to fall in place. And, I literally was a person who couldn't leave my house at one time.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to France in April for the first time. I'm really excited about that.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I know how you feel though about New York because I'd like to go to New York, but I never went, and I think it's just because it's too overwhelming. There's too many so many buildings. I know they've got parks, but I can't deal with huge city blocks like that, you know. Um,
It's a
but
great place to visit. It
yes,
really
I'll make it one day. I'll
was.
make it one day for the
Yeah. But I couldn't live there like my friend did
no.
for 5 years. But I can walk through Grand Central Station now and hop the train to rural upstate New York to visit family. I couldn't do that then, but I can now.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, and then, so you talked about, you being young and dealing with anxiety, but then, as a woman, you get you reach the stage of menopause, and that's
Oh,
another stage of anxiety and foggy brain, and you can't remember what you're doing, and that's another state. And then if you want to be an entrepreneur, that's another thing. All
mhm.
of these are different stages or steps so, try and be an entrepreneur and go through menopause and be an empath and, yes, try and follow your joy. And you can't, I'm like, what day is it? I don't remember. Why did I come into this room? I can't remember. You know,
Oh yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
know, there are so many different things, and I just love the fact that you've got that book and you've got that workbook that goes with it as well, so that people can journal. And I think that's a really big, um, huge tool that is very self-empowering when you can just journal what's your thoughts and what's going on with you and get
Yeah.
the bats out of your head and onto paper.
The bats need to come out. And and any time, like for those of us who struggle to sleep at night and that wake up at 2 in the morning and right, that needs to come out. Those mind gremlins need to come out. So even just, I have a my nightstand, my light, a little light is adjustable, so it's always set to really low before I go to sleep. So if I have to wake up at 2 in the morning and I need to get the bats out, I have a notebook and a pen and the low light, and it doesn't matter if it's a scribbled mess because you don't want to turn the big bright light on and try to then you'll never go back to sleep, right? But but literally getting that stuff out of the head. People
Yeah,
underestimate the power of giving the spin a place that's concrete to sit.
yeah.
Write it down. Like I'll be thinking, oh, there's too many things I have to do tomorrow. I'm never going to remember them all. And I'll just write a quick list. And then instead of, because you cannot control that, you can't stop it. You can't say, all right, stop thinking. It's good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Good luck with that. So take those thoughts, whatever they are, and give them a concrete place to live. Stick them on a piece of paper so they'll be there in the morning. You won't forget anything. It's right there. But that allows you to go back to sleep.
Well, it's that stuck energy, isn't it? That anxiety stuck energy. So once you get it out of your head and you get it out of your body, and then your body can say, "Oh, I've got some room to move. I can relax a
Exactly.
little bit now, right?"
Exactly. And that's why hydration is so important. It moves toxicity out. It's why movement is so important. I know with other guests on your show, you've talked about that life balance,
Yeah,
the non-negotiables.
yeah,
For me, all the time that I struggled with anxiety, I was also really physically active. I was into running. The horses were talk about a ton of work. And
right.
that started when I was a little kid. And that gave me, I'm so grateful for that for so many reasons. But that gave me the normalcy of using my body in ways that are difficult. I was pushing wheelbarrows and carrying water buckets and dragging and painting fences and cleaning out stall and all the stuff. It has to do with that life. And physical activity became my norm. So even for times when I wasn't as focused on the horse thing, I was running. I joined a gym, and then I became a fitness instructor, and then I fell into Pilates, and I have a level 1 Pilates instruction. And non-negotiable for me now is getting to Pilates class 3 days a week.
Right.
In addition to everything else I do, all the walking I do, all the horse work, all the Pilates work at home, sometimes the dancing around the kitchen, all my movement, there's that non-negotiable. 3 days a week, I do that thing that
Right.
makes me feel strong and flexible and good. And it moves trapped energy.
Yeah,
So anxiety goes down.
I know. It's
Yeah.
amazing, isn't it? Even if people say, "I've got no time, I haven't got time to do this," I'm going, put some music on, have a dance. What's your favorite song? Put that
Right?
on and just get up and just start moving around, start dancing around. It moves the energy. It's amazing.
Absolutely amazing. And music, singing aloud and humming are so great for raising our vibration
Yeah.
that, yeah, the stuff you need to do in the kitchen. I bet every one of your audience makes food at some point in the kitchen. That is when I crank up the disco. My
Yeah.
husband, my husband's not home. He can't stand this kind of music. I crank up the disco and
Yeah.
I'm jamming to the fridge and back to the stove and cutting up vegetables and singing out loud. What a lift after a day of pressure and work and all the things. And right there, I can't tell you how many people have said to me, well, I have kids. I don't have time for this stuff. Bring your kids into everything you do in that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Teach your kids to do the same. Dance with them around the kitchen. If you're working out at home, ask your 3-year-old can sit there and play, do some yoga and whatever your thing is. You can invite your kids into things in ways that I think people don't always understand, don't recognize.
Yeah.
And just going for a walk. If when I get up in the morning, if I have something early and it's not a day that I'm going to work out, at least 5 or 6 days a week. And sometimes it's with my horse. Sometimes I take him out like a dog. People are like, aren't you supposed to be riding that thing? I'm like, Not always. We're just out for a walk together."
Just go for a walk. I have a
Yeah,
horse. I'm going to walk. Let's
that's
go.
right. It's a really big dog, but okay. But getting out and walking, just move your body and hydrate. Move and
Mm.
hydrate. It's amazing what it can do to help settle the anxiety.
Yeah. And I do like that you don't, you don't have to go it alone. Again, there's the you don't have to go it alone part. Which is you can bring in other people, do go for a walk with your neighbors, your family, your kids, do something. Like just, I'm gonna do some yoga. Come on, join me. No, I'm not doing that, Mom. Oh, come on, just do it with me. Come on, I need somebody to motivate me. Make it fun, right?
Yes, make it fun. And then, well, I don't like doing the yoga poses. Okay, you show me some ways we can exercise together. Let's show me some moves, baby. I know you got moves. Show them to me. Let's work on them together. Bring the
Absolutely.
kids in and give them some ownership, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm
You
all
can,
about the dancing in the kitchen. Yeah, I'd recommend
oh,
that 150%. I'd recommend that. Dancing in the
yeah.
kitchen while you're cooking. Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. And the vibration, the way that the expression of sound through singing, so singing along to your favorites, through humming, that's used in one of the modalities that I use in my work all the time, EFT, emotional freedom
Right.
techniques,
Right.
combines acupressure with EMDR, the eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Also, there's a humming component too that helps to activate the ventral vagus nerve, which is the hugging, calming part of our nervous system, not the frightened fight or flight.
Fight or flight. Yeah.
Yeah, the parasympathetic nervous system is activated by moving, by singing, by humming.
Mm.
Those are things anybody can do.
Yeah.
You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to pay anything. You can do that on your own.
Yeah.
And actually, oh gosh, I should have sent this to you in a link, Beth. A good friend of mine has developed the lowest cost experience I've ever heard of, literally $5 a month for training in the using the music and singing and humming to calm the vibration. It's called Sing Savvy.
Oh, I like
Sing,
that.
yeah, it's cool. And he was a financial, corporate guru for years, retired. He's like a lot of us, what can I do to give back? And he created this whole program. It's amazing. I'm in the middle of it right now, and you can go and pick all kinds of different parts in it. But um, to help people just release with joy, right? There's all kinds of ways to release our angst and anxiety, but this is joy and singing and humming, and it's just fabulous. I love it. It's called Sing Savvy.
Yes. I'm going down my own journey right now with the with the vibrations and the voice sounds, and I'm tuning every day to finally start digging more into my channeling gifts. So that's something that I'm going down right now, and that's something
Fantastic.
I've been doing that for years, and finally I'm just like, okay, I'm going to work with one of the best coaches and one of the best channelers, and I'm going to do something. So I'm doing that, and that is about the voice, working on the voice, because for years it's part of my story that I was silenced and I felt invisible. My throat chakra completely blocked for years. Didn't feel like I could give an opinion or have my voice heard. It's been quite a journey for me. And I know for other women that I speak to too, when you know, kids of the 60s and 70s, we're we're like your opinion is not wanted or needed.
Right. Children should be seen and not heard.
Absolutely right.
Right.
And you know, and we've had to come through all of that resilience. We've been resilient and we've fought
Yeah.
our way to
Yes.
have our voice and to be heard. And this is one of the reasons for this podcast is because I want all the women that that I know, some of them I don't know. I want them all to tell their stories and have a voice. It's
Oh, so fantastic because we learn from each other,
yeah,
right? We hear each other, we reckon, oh man, I didn't know anyone else felt that way
yeah,
or anyone else had been through that thing.
right. And then
Well,
you're
yeah,
not
most,
alone.
right. I think most of the women in your audience, if we pulled out a checklist, 9 out of 10, we'd be on the same.
Oh, yeah. There's
Been
many,
silenced, right?
many overlapping stories. There are so many things that connect all of us.
Yeah.
It's quite incredible.
Yes.
We've all had our own paths, journeys, different industries, but there's always overlapping trauma.
There's always overlapping trauma.
Yeah.
So can I share with your audience just a couple
Yes.
of really quick, I mean, these are the easiest. Okay, first of all, you say the word meditation, and 99% of people go, oh yeah, no, I don't have time for that. That's weird. I can't sit in a chair for half an hour and not do anything. That's not going
Yeah.
to happen,
You
right?
don't. Yeah.
So, in addition to the EFT, which involves
Mhm.
tapping, moving the energy out of the meridians, the energy pathways in our body that I practice. So, in addition to my wildlife imagery and EFT work, I also am a recipient of work in Shin Jitsu, which is a Japanese meridian-based energy modality as well.
Mm.
And so when I'm coaching or working in therapy or in my online communities, Peace Now, which is called, I'm constantly teaching people basic strategies to use in a situation during the day that other people don't necessarily need to know that you're doing.
Very
And
good.
then, we have depth beyond that. But to even begin to be able to use a meditation, and I shared a link with one that you can give to your audience
I
later.
have, and it will be that you'll be able to find that
Okay,
yeah, below this video.
great. Okay. It can be used on the fly in the office. You're standing there and you're talking to someone who is sending negative vibration your way, and you can be looking at them and doing that particular meditation, and they won't even know you're doing it.
Right.
Right. And then you can also, it's called Rain and Earth, and you can also take that meditation to a sitting half hour, 45 minutes if you wish to just. But before you get even into any of that, how to use the breath to lower the heart rate, to increase, excuse me, to increase the CO2 that helps to lower your heart rate is called box breathing. And people have done this for years, and Navy
Yeah.
SEALs is where I found it most popular. Navy SEALs
Yeah.
use box breathing, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, you want to take a deep inhale through your nose and you want to exhale. But the piece that box breathing adds is to hold the breath at the top and at the bottom. Because when we stop and hold the breath, it increases our awareness of
Yeah.
what's going on around us. It lowers blood pressure and gives us pause to take back the energy that's starting to spin, and nobody has to know you're doing it. Some people say on the out breath to breathe out through the mouth, but I follow a brilliant Swiss physician, but by the last name is Buteyko, who created the Buteyko Breathing Clinic to help people with asthma and allergies, which is largely based on mouth breathing to go back to nasal breathing.
Yeah.
His basic theory is this is for breathing and this is for eating.
That's exactly that. I couldn't agree more because I've got allergies and I always find even though my nose is, it's always a little bit blocked. I always, when I'm doing my meditations and I'm breathing, I breathe through the nose unless it's very deliberate at the very beginning. And then
Right.
it's, or I'm trying to
Hmm.
really to calm my nervous system. But
Hmm.
otherwise, if I'm just at the start of a meditation, I do nasal breathing.
That's great because even in in the daily using the mouth when we don't need to, one of the detriments is that it dehydrates us. A
Right.
lot more moisture comes out through the mouth. So that contributes to dehydration. And then if people have respiratory allergies, it also narrows the pathway. It dries out right? The pathway to your breathing. So the box breath is just, and I actually call it a rectangle breath, and I'll tell you why. The
Okay.
box
Well,
breath is
I'm picturing a box because when I do it, it's you breathe in,
4 counts.
hold, and you do it like a box.
Exactly. And that's the
Yeah,
easiest way to think about it. So
yeah,
if
yeah. I
anybody's
use that technique. I use that technique, Bonnie. Yes.
That's perfect. So your audience could breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4. That's where the CO2 buildup starts. That activates your ventral vagus nerve, which lowers your heart rate and calms you. And then breathe out. And I breathe out for 6. This is where the rectangle is. But you can do 4, 4, and 4. That's fine. I breathe out for 6 to make sure I let all of it go. And then hold again at the bottom for 4. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 6, hold for 4. Or in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. The
Yeah.
hold at the top and the bottom is critical to
Yeah.
lowering the blood pressure and increasing the awareness. That's super, super important. But that whole thing is done through the nose. Some people might find when they start that, oh, I can't get enough air to keep that going through my nose and might have to use the mouth a little bit, and that's okay. But that's a training you can work on for yourself to train ourselves to keep doing it so that until we get to the point when the nose is all we need.
Yeah.
And then, like when I'm out walking and I, briskly, and I'm still trying to focus on as much breathing through my nose as I can do and as little through the mouth. But sometimes you have to, for a second. But over breathing actually increases anxiety. Manage that breath. It lowers it. So that's something people can do in the office right this minute. Like, oh, I have this meeting coming up with so and so, and this is not going to be easy.
Breathing. Yeah. My coach taught me this technique 3 years ago,
It
and
works.
it's something that I use, and I use it with my clients.
It's fantastic
Yeah.
because meditation, like full on imagery based meditation, requires the ability to slow the breath, to lower
Yeah.
the heart rate. So starting with that box breathing is a great first step
Yeah.
before going into even into the brief meditation, the rain and earth one that I gave you, where with the imagery is a soft rain coming down through the body to wash all the negative energy and toxins out. And then the next phase is wherever you are, where you're sitting in a chair right now, you're connected to the earth because the chair to the floor, to the structure of the building, to the foundation, to the earth, right?
Yeah.
We're all still connected.
Yeah.
So when we can just put our hands down even on the floor or on the side of the chair and bring the breath up through the feet,
Yeah.
that pulls up the energy of earth. Earth is grounding, earth is stable, right?
Yep.
So it's the washing down and then the pulling up of that stable earth energy in the breath.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly settling. And again,
Yes.
you can do
Yes.
that twice
Yes.
in
Yes.
the office, or you can spend 45 minutes doing it by yourself.
Yeah. I would just add for those listening, feet flat on the floor, please. No crossing the legs.
No crossing the legs. Yes, that's right.
Feet
Feet
flat
flat.
on, flat on the floor. But
Yep.
yes, and bring that, and I love that. Yeah, it is something you can do. Even sitting in the office, you just go because in your imagination, you're going through the floor, through the floorboards, through the soil
Mhm.
Into Mother Earth and grounding.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, and
And earth will cleanse all that energy that you give
yes,
it, and you bring up the clean, strong, grounded energy that it offers you.
yeah,
I have to say that I've done a lot of different kind of meditations. I've meditated with Sufis. I've whirled with dervishes. I've been through therapy, all the things. And that meditation is just like a combination of the things that can work quickly for me and that I can also spend time with. So, because you never know where you're going to be when you need it. You might be driving in the car, have 20
yeah.
minutes to pay attention to that. But keep your eyes open when you're driving. Um, and
Please.
Please. Or, you might just need to settle yourself before you go into a meeting. When you want to bring your focus. And that it just takes a couple minutes to do.
Yes.
Simple. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Bonnie, we talked a little bit about your self-care routine already, which is obviously your Pilates, your walking, your non-negotiables, everyday non-negotiables. So, is there anything you want to add about how you prioritize your self-care?
Um, yeah, one of the hardest things for me to get used to was taking a few moments before getting out of bed. If you have to get up to an alarm and go to a thing to, whatever, it's hard to avoid that rushed feeling of getting up and going. And so in the days when I was using an alarm clock to get myself up to show up at a school on time, because that was important, um, I would set it 10 minutes early, or than I needed to. And those 10 minutes were mine. And the first thing I start with waking up and the simplicity of a gratitude moment for I wake up
Yeah.
so grateful right now that I'm awake because I know I'm alive again today and I have another chance. I'm so grateful. I have a great marriage. My husband is lying here next to me, and he is a kind, brilliant, amazing person. I'm so grateful that I have a dog. I'm so grateful that when I need to use the bathroom, all I need to do is flush the toilet, and that system that takes care. We don't have
Right.
Right, we don't have excrement in the streets. That I'm not living in a
Yes.
tent.
Yes.
Anything that's,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
smallest things that we don't notice every day.
I
I'm
know.
so thankful for this comfortable bed that I'm going to get out of pretty
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah.
And then I will also take from Jinshin Jitsu, I do a practice called the basic recipe, the basic main recipe, which is a recipe of energetic holds that helped us to settle back into the ventral vagus nerve, the one that is the calming parasympathetic, before I get up in the morning. And one of the most basic things that you could do if you want to try Jinshin Jitsu is their finger holds. There's all kinds of holds that we work through the body, through the chakras, but just for the fingers, if you're waking up worried or fearful or angry or sad or feeling like you're not yourself, you can hold your fingers to help yourself bring that circular energy back to yourself so it's not all frenetic before you get up. And so your audience could grab a piece of paper and just write this down. It's so easy. Just trace your hand. Just trace the hand. The thumb is worry. The index finger is fear. I bet you can guess the middle finger is anger. The ring finger is sadness. And the pinky is pretense, or the feeling of not being who you really are.
Right.
Um, Sometimes I wake up in the morning always the gratitude moment will reduce anxiety if I have it. And I will hold any time of the day. And this is another thing that people don't know. And it doesn't matter which side, you can do both. People don't know what you're doing. I will hold my thumb and my index finger with my other hand, gently, not like squeezing, just holding, just so that energy's connected. And I will hold those if I get anxious.
Mm.
And a while after that practice, what people will start to notice is you can feel the energy between this hand and this hand in the connection. You'll feel little buzzes and bubbles and bits of energy from it. And then you might actually feel that sort of circular, we're bringing this back down to the parasympathetic just from doing that. Or when you have someone, maybe your boss is pushing on you in a way that's making you angry. You might want to hold that middle finger for a little bit before you engage with that person to bring that frenetic anger back to, okay, let's calm it down. Literally at night,
I
so
love that.
that to help myself sleep, I will always hold my thumb and my index finger. My anxiety and worry and fear stuff is I will go to sleep on the pillow with one hand, either way, wrapped around these, and it helps me to sleep. It's amazing. Jitsu is an amazing practice. Can't go into all of that here now, but like EFT,
Yeah.
it is meridian based.
Yes.
Like
Which
like
we don't
acupuncture.
know a lot about, do we, Bonnie? We're not really. We
Oh,
talk about the chakras. We don't talk about the meridian lines enough, of which there are many in the world as well as through your body. The
yes,
sacred lines. It's really
true.
funny actually, because if you look at the sacred lines that run through the earth, you will find things like the pyramids built on them. The ancients knew exactly where they were. They built the bloody pyramids on them, right? And
Yeah,
other amazing buildings
yes.
that people in the know knew about. So why were we kept in the dark? What
Because
happened
we're
to our
so
knowledge?
our egos have kept us in the dark, Beth.
Oh
And this
gosh.
is like my overarching what I do with everyone that I connect with. The Western world has been so arrogant and
Yeah.
so adolescent
Yeah.
about learning how to help ourselves. So a while back, I mentioned talk therapy. When I first met my first therapist, this was talk therapy. And it was helpful because that person was attentive. That person validated my feelings. That person helped me understand what I was doing. And it was helpful. It wasn't nearly enough. When I combine talk therapy, whether it's therapeutic or I'm talking to someone in a coaching situation, I'm always bringing in the wildlife, the actual nature whenever you can, and the wildlife imagery. I'm always bringing in EFT, which comes from acupuncture, acupressure, comes from eye movement desensitization, comes from the vibration of humming. I also incorporate Jin Shin Jitsu, that energetic pathway calming ancient, thousands of years ago, healing modality of the Japanese, like acupressure and acupuncture. Thousands of years, the healing modality of the
I know.
Chinese.
I know.
Why in the bleep have we not paid attention to this? And so now that I bring all of those things together, A, I can help people in half the time that
Yeah.
talk therapy helped me without medication.
Well,
I
you
work with
see, this the problem is that there's some of this information has been suppressed as well.
it
It's
is being
it's
suppressed.
been suppressed, and lots of other things have been suppressed.
Yes.
We've been kept in the dark, as my mother would use the expression. We're like mushrooms.
Mushrooms in the dark.
We've been fed bullshit and kept in the dark.
We have.
That's exactly her expression, right?
I love her. I want to meet this woman. It's fantastic.
And that's what she says, that's how we are. I mean, things have been suppressed, they've been
Yes.
omitted from books, taken away, can't see
Yes.
that, can't have you
Yes.
empowering yourself because otherwise we won't be able to control you.
Exactly. And profit off of you,
Absolutely, right?
right? The medical system is profiting. It's a
Oh yeah.
for-profit system.
Oh, it's
So
a
why
form,
in the
yeah.
hell are we going to tell you that you
Yeah.
can change your energy and feel better by using your fingers when we can give
Yeah.
you medication and you can spend all kinds of money on it?
Yeah, they're not in the business of making you healthy, are they? Let's face it.
Mm-mm.
You know, that I think there are some great, really amazing people in the health professions, but we've lost our way somewhere
We have lost our way.
long time ago, I think, right?
Exactly. Oh, I couldn't be more thankful for Western medicine. When I came up, I've been challenged by melanoma 3 times, and I'm
Right,
still sitting here.
right.
And the second time it was so dangerous, so tiny, itty bitty. Like my dermatologist was like, "Oh, that's just a little basal cell. We'll take that off." He called me 24 hours later, personally called my home and said, "This is the second time in 40 years of my career that I have imagined that something not such a big deal is a very, very big deal, and you're going into surgery tomorrow." So thank goodness. I have a big old
Yeah,
scar on the side of my face and down my neck. Thank goodness Western medicine saved my life at
right.
that moment. But when we're talking about the everyday function on
Correct.
the planet, if we don't incorporate these wonderful energetic modalities to lower our inflammation, which is how chronic disease begins,
Yeah.
not only through proper nutrition, hydration, and movement, but also the energetic work, is how we stay healthy. It's why I'm still here.
Yeah.
Yes, if we hadn't caught this and it got into my lymph nodes past the one that I had removed, I'd probably have been a goner.
It's not just what you think. This is the whole thing, isn't it?
All of it.
It's not just the words that you, it's not just the food that you eat, it's the words that you say to yourself. It's the way that you, everything is dis-ease. If you're not at ease with yourself, that's the opposite. That's disease. That's where
Oh,
the word comes from, right? It's
I
crazy.
love it.
God, I could talk to you all day. We're going to finish now with honestly, I could. There's so many different questions I still have for you. Maybe we should do another interview because
I'm happy.
I've
This
got so
happened to
many
me.
more questions for you, as I'm sure the women listening have as well. Um,
Thank you.
but
I have been invited back twice a lot to podcasts and we
right,
get
right,
we gotta
right.
end this thing. We gotta stop.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's just so much information, right? And I'm just
Yes.
so aligned with you, and everything you're saying is just what I've talked about. And we're just doing it in slightly different ways, but the end result
Of
is
course.
the same. And that's
The
the
end
same part,
result, where we're
right?
going.
Where we're
Yes.
going is the same. So let me ask you, what are the most valuable lessons that you've learned about yourself and your goals throughout this journey?
Oh my God. The most valuable lessons I've learned about myself, um, that I'm much more capable than I thought, than I was told. I'm much more valuable as a human being to myself, and to other human beings, and to my environment than I was told as a younger person.
Right.
Um, and that it's okay to try something new. And believe me, since I retired from education and really expanded the therapy, coaching, speaking, writing, I've gone in 4 or 5 directions that I thought, oh, this is it. This is, and then there's like, oh, that ain't really happening. Okay, I want to try this one. Don't be afraid to
Yeah,
fall on your face, to
yeah,
fail and get up, to try something it doesn't work. You just keep working at it until the clicks happen, right? So that's all I can say, that the clicks will
yeah,
happen if you
yeah,
don't give up on trying something, even when I don't know how much time and energy I spent on a thing that I was hosting, that probably went out to 500 people. Thought I'd at least get. I literally at that particular day had one person show up, one, and that was a feeling of, oh my God, how am I ever? And then that one person led to 6 other people who are having a similar issue, and that became a thing, and that became a speaking thing.
yeah.
So
Don't
yeah.
think that the word's not getting out, because if you can affect one person, just one, it's the word of mouth and they'll help somebody else and it has a knock-on effect.
You never know who's listening or paying attention to you,
Correct. Yeah,
right?
correct.
But yeah, I'm so much more capable and valuable than I thought,
Very good.
and that my ability to be a friend and a caring person to others creates community, and it lowers the temperature for everyone, and that makes me really happy.
Yeah.
That's what I'm all about. I'm 63 years old. I could go off and retire now and say, see ya. I decided instead I'm starting up a whole thing because I have all of this that I've learned and experienced to help other people who might be feeling stuck. You
Yeah.
don't need to be stuck, and anxiety is just trapped energy.
Well, people can't wait to retire because they hate their job. That's what it is. Because I'm the same.
Yeah,
Over here, I think it's 67 we can retire now. And I said, I'm not even sure I'm going to retire at 67. I think I'm on a mission now. It's just, I'm in service to others. I think it's a lifelong mission. For
yeah,
however many years I've got left, it's never going to stop.
great. I'm so glad to hear that. It is a lifelong mission. And I call it, for those of us in our 60s, the third act.
Oh, I love that.
Like 1 to 30, you figure out who the hell you are and what's going on, maybe if you're lucky. 30 to 60, you work your butt off for income and setup and status or whatever it is you're working your butt off for. And then 60 to, if you're lucky, 90, it's your third act, baby.
Yeah.
Do something amazing in service to others that feeds your heart. And that's what I'm doing instead of retiring. Yeah, whatever.
Well, I love that because I believe you've just answered my final question, which is what do you hope your story will inspire in other women who are looking for this purposeful and joyful life? Is it the
Oh,
third act, Bonnie? We're
it's the third
waiting for the
act.
third act. Or can they do it in their second act? Come on.
Well, sure. A lot of people, a lot of your audience is not as aged as we are. Um, yeah, they're younger and they're in their maybe their second act and they're figuring it out. So many women for so many reasons have been silenced, have been taught to believe that they're not as valuable, have been taught to believe that they don't measure up, that they shouldn't try it because they might fail, that they're too ambitious. You would never say that to a
Oh,
guy, you break, right? That they're too this and they're too
that's a
that.
whole other podcast.
It's a whole other podcast, girlfriend. Whole other one. You're too wrinkled. You're not that. I remember hearing Brene Brown say that somebody said to her, less research, more Botox.
That's
Right?
I can't tell you how
That's it in a
disgusted
nutshell.
I can't tell you how disgusted I feel right now.
That's it in a nutshell, right? So, women, find you are the most powerful beings on the planet. I mean, look at what our bodies are capable of doing.
Right.
You're the most powerful beings on the planet, and you scare the out of everybody else. So go out there, whatever it is you want to accomplish, whatever you want to try, however you want to play, step out and do it. Because as far as I know, this is the only life in this human. I don't know. I know this is my first life as a human, clearly, because I had no idea how to function when I got here. But seriously, this probably, I don't know. Don't waste it.
That's a whole other podcast as well.
That's a whole other podcast as well. Yes, it is. But don't waste it. And if anxiety and fear have you stuck, you can get help. And this little book right here
Love that.
could potentially change your life because it is how I took my first steps out of feeling all those things I just described to here I am now. Love me or leave me, whatever. I'm putting it out
Absolutely.
there and whatever. And I'm not getting a lot of people who are naysaying me. I'm getting a lot of people who are saying, I need this. Thanks for putting it out there. Thanks for telling your story. I
Yeah.
feel the same way you felt, and I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And that's worth it.
It's incredibly empowering, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Incredibly empowering.
I never thought in a million years I would write a story about my family and how I discovered the roots of my anxiety. And I was very, very careful to create the people around me in a way that I had to be careful that I couldn't get sued. So I didn't
Right.
the names and the genders and the all are all changed, but the story is real.
Right.
And it's how I took those first steps out of being stuck. And I'm never going back.
Good.
Never.
The final words there. I'm never going back. Love it. A million thanks to Bonnie for joining me today. Thanks to our audience for hanging out with us. We hope you find it inspiring and empowering. And of course, everything you need to know, including how to work with Bonnie or myself, you'll find all the details below the video. And until the next time, this is Beth and Bonnie signing off.
It was my honor. Thank you.